In 2011, a couple of mercenaries escaped the back streets of Junction, still wanted by the masses. If you can find them, maybe you can call the late team, the voices of Reading.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the late show. We are live. Apologies for the late start. Also apologies for all the listeners out there, the regular listeners who tune into One Ummah FM. There have been some technical difficulties, and inshallah, hopefully they've all been rectified and sorted. We will be running as usual 24 hours a day, including all the late live shows, I should say. So apologies for that once again. Today's show, much advertised show in the media, on the internet, a lot of conversation going around regarding this matter, the matter of Moazzam Beg, who is a very active member of, you could say, human rights, you could say, or freedom.
Freedom activist,
you could say. He's been arrested, and at this time he's actually in remand, in prison, category A, from what I read. It's called very serious matter as well, and the charges are something to do with terrorism in Syria, or helping
allegedly.
But obviously he has his side as well, which we don't really know too much about until he gets his fair share or his opportunity to say his bit. So we don't really know either. The Reading community probably are familiar with Moazzam Beg as well, because there has been events in Reading, Caged Prisoners, which is an organisation that he
CEO of.
He's the CEO of that organisation, and basically what it does, it creates awareness of the plight of, maybe you could say, political prisoners, or people in Guantanamo Bay, who are locked away probably unjustly or without any sort of support. So just creating awareness for those individuals. Yes, Ogi.
Assalamu alaikum. Just touching on that. Brother Moazzam, he's CEO of Cage, which represents the voice for the voiceless. This is what their title is. It's not political or anything else issue. It's people that are locked up unjustly throughout, not just UK, throughout the world. So he's made it his plight.
Is it just Muslim prisoners, or is it anyone in general who's probably been locked away or incarcerated, without any charge or unjustly?
See, it would have been nice to have someone from Cage to give us a bit of background about their organisation and what it's about, and who they represent. But inshallah, we'll do that.
I think you're right there in saying that it originally started off due to the Guantanamo Bay incident, where he served 3 years without charge and then was released.
He's made it like when he's us people that are in Reading might be familiar with Asabil. We used to do the iftar event, raising awareness and money for hugs and Cage prisoners alike, and we've done it for like 5-6 years, and Brother Moazzam attended most of them. So I mean, knowing him personally, he was a very humble brother, and mashallah, we may all make dua for him, inshallah, make it easy on him, and inshallah he'll get his day and his time out. But I mean, for him to be incarcerated in Guantanamo for 3 years without charge, it speaks for itself. But what can you say? Just one of them things that has to be aired. Julian sitting there very quiet. I mean,
I'm here.
Let me get you in on this.
All right,
I mean, the charges they're laughable, bro. I mean, let's take our religious hat off and whatever we are. Let's be humans for a time being. And the charges relate to like him doing a keep fit course for some brother and giving someone a generator. And these are factual charges what he's charged with. And for him to be put in a category A in Belmarsh, you know what I mean, that's the worst of the worst. I mean that's where they keep your lifers, you know what I mean. What's he done that's so bad?
Well, innocent until proven guilty, obviously.
So they say.
Yeah. So we are right to defend him in that sense, and if you guys know him personally, then I can understand why you would be fighting his corner or saying, well, he wouldn't do this kind of thing. You've said to me he wouldn't. Do you think he's that stupid? Well, I don't know. He's not the only person who's been arrested in this situation, but he is the big name. He's the most famous one. I mean, is that right? Is that wrong? My question would be: is there anyone in Syria from Britain committing terror crimes? We know there are. The fact that he's been fingered for this one, does that just mean they want to have a show of force, that they're doing something about it? It was interesting that it happened on the same day that the Lee Rigby killers went through the court, and everyone was remembered how frightening and scary Muslim terrorists are, and maybe it was good to have something done on that day about, well, we got somebody on terror charges. That's a possible reason behind it.
See, we're getting deep into conspiracy things here again. I mean, the reason behind it, is one way of looking at it. It's highlighted by the Lee Rigby, and there's other possibilities coming out there. I know we keep touching on conspiracies that people are saying that was mocked and set up by the MI5 again. Few different versions. That's all come out, and the media. I mean, why? I mean, I'd read this little article in Oldham where a sister got stabbed 25 times by a violent husband. Allegedly, the sister was out entertaining another man, as to say. But why do they have to highlight Muslim? They could have said a Pakistani, Moroccan, Turkish, but they're playing, this Western media is playing and highlighting Muslims as in a very, very negative manner.
So there's an agenda here.
Basically, I mean, they portray Muslims as, you know, only these people are capable of doing such things.
Yeah.
You know, it's them again, it's them, it's them, you know. So
they're just trying to keep it in the media as a Muslim. It's probably
Muslim equals terrorist.
Yeah,
and vice versa.
Well, I mean, not even terrorism. I mean, we're
a
violent husband or
negative connotations.
Promiscuous wife.
But this is an everyday occurrence in this Western society. Why make an issue out of something that happens every day on everyone's doorstep? What, 2-3 times a day? But you know, a so-called Muslim does it, you know, and they got to highlight the word Muslim. So you know, I mean, this is what we all got to think about, and there's definitely an agenda out there. I don't know what your opinion of this are, Julian.
Well, I want to find out the listener's opinion, so maybe you could read out the temporary one-night-only phone number for us.
Okay, due to technicalities in the studio, and it's not our fault, let me highlight that, it's the server provider to One Ummah. The server's been down for a few days. So the temporary number for our show tonight they're giving us is 01189 66 0038. Let me highlight that again. 01189 66 0038. And if you want to text in, 07909 567 527. Text again, 07909 567 527. Let's have your thought on this. Don't worry, you know, no one's going to come and say anything to you, or you know, everyone has their opinions, and let's have your say so on this. You know, one of the highlighted thing in this campaign over the last week has been the silence is betrayal. You know, this brother who's been representing Muslims throughout the world fighting their cause. I mean, he's dedicated his life and set up headquarters in London called Cage to help the voiceless people that are being oppressed throughout the world. I mean, now is his time, and he definitely needs our support. So obviously there have been marches and demonstrations in Birmingham and in London itself over the weekend. If anyone went there and wants to give us a review, please call in or text in, let us know how it went. Brother Sheikh Zaid Mahmood, who was our Syria speaker, he was there on Birmingham on Saturday. Mashallah, if you haven't seen his take on it, it's on YouTube. Absolutely inspiring, very inspiring. Listen to. I'll let someone else cut in before I get too emotional.
Just want to talk about the actual heading, the title that we use. We use sometimes knowing too much can be a curse, which is Moazzam Beg's own words.
Before he got arrested. That was his Facebook status before he got arrested.
Literally before he got arrested. So, is this really the case? I mean, is this something...
If you're going to get arrested, make sure you've got a good Facebook status. That's my view. Look, what did he know? What are we asserting, or what is he claiming to have known?
Well, I mean, this is an individual who's been around the world internationally. He knows certain things that go on in certain countries. He also knows, obviously, politically what might be happening in the higher places that we don't know about. He was trapped in that system. He was in Guantanamo Bay for 3 years, so he's seen the ugly side of things. So yes, this is an individual that does know too much. He's not an individual like me and you. We just read the normal paper or go on the internet.
Okay.
But
let's speculate. That was very vague. Well, he knows because he's been here, he's been there. What does he know? That's suggesting that he knows some secret fact that the British government don't want to let out, and so they've hushed him up.
How they talk? If you read his book, Enemy Combatant, there's a lot of stuff in there. How he's been tortured, what he's seen with his own eyes, the screams that we now know that of a woman, Sister Afia, that he used to hear. Being raped and whatever and tortured in the cell next door. So he knows all these things for him to be highlighting it, and he's seen people.
This is an individual who has been tortured. He was like trapped in that system. You could say Guantanamo Bay or whatever you want to call it, and he's not someone that left Guantanamo Bay and just went quietly on with his life and said, "You know what?
Like most
here's the white towel. Just leave me alone." He actually come back, and he became even more determined to create awareness. And whenever if you've ever been to any of his events or any of his talks or whatever, he goes into very graphic detail of the certain things that happen. And this is an individual that's experienced them firsthand.
Okay, so he's got some information that the British government really want to keep quiet. This guy hasn't even been to Syria since 2012, I believe. He's not been. The last time he was in Syria was a year and a half ago. So timing is everything, and it's mysterious that it would emerge at this point. What does he know, and what do they know about him? You've mentioned that he's dedicated his life to campaigning for the rights of people. Well, let's look at his life. What has he done? Where did he go? He travelled to Bosnia.
Let's start from the beginning in his own words. I'm sorry to interrupt you there. Like, I was listening in his own words. People out there got SoundCloud. Listen to Moazzam Beg in his own words. It's a brilliant insight to his mindset. And he talks about the war on terror before it actually became the war on terror, where he and his wife went to Afghanistan to set up a school. Before the war on terror came, before the 9/11 kicked in, he was in Afghanistan at the time to set up a school, an Islamic establishment there. So that's just so yes, he's been everywhere.
Okay, long before that, and if you think the war of terror started in 2001 on 9/11, well, there's been a war. There's been lots of wars, right? And in the 90s, this guy went to Bosnia while there was a jihad on. A jihad against one of America's enemies. He showed up in Afghanistan while there was a jihad on against one of America's enemies. By his own admission, he attempted to go and fight in Chechnya, but could not, against one of America's enemies. So, when a guy like that goes to Syria, while there's a jihad on against one of America's enemies, am I naive to suspect that this guy likes jihad? And he seems to crop up in the places where there's a jihad against one of America's enemies.
Or are you implying that he's a friend of America?
What I'm saying is that a lot of these jihadis crop up, and he's got a habit of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, again and again. They crop up where there's a jihad against one of America's enemies. And who are the enemy of the Muslims? Which states in the world today, the superpowers, are the enemies of the Muslims? I would say it's Britain, America and Israel. So why do these jihadis, who follow this ideology that came out of Saudi Arabia, one of America's best friends, why do they keep cropping up in places to fight a holy war against someone who's actually standing up to this brute of the Americans, et al? You tell me. Because tonight there are Muslims being massacred in the Central African Republic. No jihad. There are Rohingya Muslims in Burma being massacred. No jihad. But everyone's on their way to fight a war in Syria where a load of Muslims can go and kill another Muslim. Whether that's Sunni killing Shia, whether that's Al-Nusra killing ISIS, that's Muslims killing Muslims while the Americans are laughing. Now, I'm not saying Moazzam Beg has killed anyone, but I'm sure he would be a sympathiser with these type of jihadists who fight jihad against America's enemies, because he's done it before, and he'll show up again when they want a government that doesn't toe the line to be toppled. He'll show up for a jihad, so, like the fools in Libya that overthrew Gaddafi because he wanted to have unite Africa and have an African currency and not deal with the devil, America.
So if he is, as you're implying, maybe an ally of America, then what is he doing right now in a British prison, and what was he doing in America's prison in Guantanamo Bay? I mean, if he was an ally.
This is one of the reasons that the fervent Muslim believers that wish to do a jihad must stop getting into bed with Britain and America, because they will screw you over every time. I am no defender of the British government or the American government or their policy in the Middle East or their betrayal of the Muslims. Look how they used those mujahideen in Afghanistan. Maybe Moazzam remembers it, I don't know. Look how they used them and then lose them. They use them to overthrow one government, and then they come back and betray them. And that's why
we've talked about this.
This is why Osama bin Laden, CIA agent, came back for a revenge.
We've talked about this issue of Afghanistan before. You know, you're adamant in saying that, you know, Muslims, you know, were in America's back pocket, and the Americans helped the Muslims overthrow their enemy, right? But what would you want the Afghani people to do when the Russian superpower was coming for them? What would you have wanted them to do? I don't.
Was it coming for them?
Because you never really ever given a clear answer to that. Because whenever I say to you, what should have been done? What should have been done?
Well, what was happening? Afghanistan had a Russian sympathizer president, and he got overthrown. And Ukraine had a Russian sympathizer president. Oh, look, he's been overthrown, not by Muslims, but by far-right racist nutters. They'll hire anybody. It doesn't matter if you're a right-wing lunatic or a Muslim lunatic. They'll use you to get rid of an ally to Russia. Now, Russia may not be great, but how many bombs have they dropped on Muslim lands in the past 50 years? Not as many as Britain and America.
Well, Russia's very good at ethnic cleansing in their own territories. That's a fact. They will wipe out Muslims in their own thingy. I mean, where the Olympics are being held right now.
Sochi.
No,
okay.
Sochi. In Chechnya as well.
Yeah, Chechnya. I was going to get to that, but we're talking about this current place where they're having the Winter Olympics, which is insult to the natives that lived there, that place was inhabited by Muslims, and those Muslims were there well before the Russians even came there, and they were wiped out. And they, insult those individuals of the past and have the Olympics there. I mean, that's an insult to the natives, I believe, that were ethnically cleansed.
And when was that, Barbara?
Well, I don't know, I've got my history.
Well, look, Syria used to be a Christian country. Now it's a Muslim country.
No. We're going to talk about countries here. That is an area, that's a place.
I don't know my facts. I don't know my facts on this one, but
how far back was the Christian country?
700 years, 800 years. But look, people have to live where they live. And I heard someone today talking about Crimea and who used to live there, and was it Tatars or was it Russians, and when did these Russians arrive, and when did these... Look, people live where they're going to live, and my hope is that everyone who lives in Russia can live together, whether they're Muslim or Christian. And like every minority, Muslims have a hard time in Russia. But Russia as a state hasn't attacked Muslims in the same way that Britain and America has. Or am I wrong on that one? As far as I can see, Russia and China, they're not Muslim countries, but they are two powers that are standing in the way of Britain and America.
They've got political similarities. That's why they stand side by side. They are against, or they don't follow the Western interpretation of their democracy or whatever. They're socialists or they're communists. They have more in common, to be together than
Look, until 20 years ago or so, there was a massive country called the Soviet Union, and when it collapsed, every nationality, every ethnicity, and certain religious people all wanted their own entity, their own piece of land. For the 80 or so years that country was an entity, Britain and America were desperate to break it up, and now that it has broken up, they're desperate to break it up further, which is why you will find the Chechen rebels are CIA backed and trained. It's why you'll find every separatist group from a country that's not an ally of Britain and America will be backed by them. The separatists in Iran, the Baluchistanis that want independence, they are trained and backed by America. Kurdish separatists have always been used. It's, as we often say on this show, divide and conquer. So I'm just saying, when people like Moazzam Beg, who I'm sure if you guys know him and trust him, I'll take your word for it, perhaps he was there with a good intention, but has he been duped? If he keeps showing up for a jihad in these countries where there is a Yankee jihad against one of America's enemy, or where is he in Burma? Where is he in the Central African Republic? Where is he in Palestine? We know that the likes of Al-Qaeda and co never lift a finger to help the people of Palestine, because that's not on their agenda. Barbara?
What is Al-Qaeda?
Well, as I often say on this show, it's the armed wing
that we hear on the news. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Al-Qaeda is probably just one made-up thing. It's probably nothing.
But there are people.
Brilliantly done by American again.
There are people of the Al-Qaeda mindset. Okay, Osama bin Laden, a Saudi Arabian and former CIA agent, I'm sure, had an agenda.
The Al-Qaeda mindset is something that's been preached by America and Britain and the West. It's preached by them.
What do you mean by that?
Have you ever heard anyone from the Middle East or South Asia tell you what the Aqidah of Al-Qaeda is? They don't know. They don't know what it is.
What I'm referring to when I say the Al-Qaeda mindset, I am talking about radical jihadist Salafis.
Which is a seed
emerged
planted by the Americans in
Saudi Arabia, which has emerged from Saudi Arabia, and that's why there's no jihad in Saudi Arabia, and the Saudi Arabian regime, as I like to call it, will give weapons to the rebels in Syria to topple their president, and give the same weapons to the president of Bahrain, the Prime Minister, and the regime in Bahrain to murder people and murder rebels in Bahrain. So it's the hypocrisy, and Britain in all this Moazzam Beg issue are the biggest hypocrites of all, because William Hague, the Foreign Secretary, has been funding those rebels with millions not a couple of generators and a few mattresses or whatever Moazzam Beg may or may not have given to them. William Hague has been giving them millions of pounds to spend on weapons, and Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Britain and America have been funding them from the beginning, because they're of the mindset that my enemy's enemy is my best friend, and I'd rather see Bashar al-Assad toppled than an ally of Russia cling on to power. Don't get me wrong, Bashar al-Assad is a terrible guy, and a murderer. But do you want to do the usual and topple one murderer for another murderer, and they'll be back in a few years to topple the next one?
This is going to go back to the other point. If people are getting oppressed, if people are getting killed, what do you want them to do? Well, how are we going to get rid of certain dictators or individuals who have gripped onto power for decades after decade, and oppressing the people? How do you get rid of these individuals?
What I don't want is idiots from abroad who know nothing about the country but have a agenda to show up and set the country on fire and then start killing each other in that country. What you would have, ideally, would be that the people of a country will overthrow their government, their dictator, and when the army in Tunisia and Egypt saw that their duty was to protect the people and not the dictator, that was what happened. And in Syria, the majority of soldiers are ordinary, conscripted Sunni Muslim Arab Syrians, and many of them did defect to the so-called Free Syria Army. But when that was gave way to an influx of foreigners with a jihadist mentality and started fighting each other, that crippled the rebellion. And many people, conspiracy theorists, will tell you that Bashar al-Assad was glad to see the likes of ISIS, because how do you fight two lions? You let them fight each other, and then you fight the winner, and he's bloodied and tired. Wounded, yeah. So they're killing each other. So this influx of jihadis, of the Saudi Arabian Salafist ideology, has crippled any chance that we used to call it the democracy movement in Syria had. And 3 years ago I was outside the Syrian embassy protesting against Bashar al-Assad and his murderous government, but I can't stand alongside jihadists that want to chop people's heads off, murder Christians, ethnically cleanse Alawis, which is what this revolution is now pregnant with, due to the fools from abroad that arrived with an agenda to the delight of the British and American imperial powers, and the French. I'll include the French in there, who used to rule that part of the world. They've still got their eye on controlling Syria and Lebanon, and Lebanon is part of this as well. And this turmoil is spilling over into Lebanon now.
Okay, I mean, right, you're saying that, okay, let's not take up arms, no foreigners go over there and just watch your TV and don't worry about it. But let's look at somewhere. Let's look at Egypt, for example, now, where they did have a fair democracy, where people did believe in democracy. They stood outside Tahrir Square, and day after day, people getting run over by cars, people getting killed by their own police and their own armies or whatnot. And then Mubarak sending out people to kill the people, to stop them from making noise. Those people did it your way. They did it your way. The
people had their revolution.
Yeah, they did it your way, what you're saying, okay? As soon as they got what they wanted, and the majority of people voted in Morsi, who is Islamically inclined individual, okay? This is what the people wanted, yeah? Now, all of a sudden, the army jumps in, and they lock him up, and they throw away the key. So
and why did the army?
Julian, they played by the rules. They played by the rules.
No, they didn't.
They did.
In my view, they got 51% of the vote and thought that democracy was an event rather than a process. And they thought, right, we've won the election now, no problem. and they stopped consulting the people. They tried to put laws that would suit people, as you say, of a Muslim mentality or Muslimly inclined, and that
we have to stop. We have to stop using the M word.
Okay,
we've been getting complaints about that.
Muslim. That's going to be difficult on this station. But look, the Muslim Brotherhood blew it. They got their democracy and they blew it. And I would prefer. I wish they were back.
Julie,
I wish they were still there. But why were people on the street protesting against them?
You got to stop right there. Okay, they played fair, right? They played fair. They've done it democratically. Whether it's 51% or 80%, it doesn't matter. They won it. Okay, the opposing people to Morsi and his government, they had to back off for what's the term? 3 years. Yeah, you got to give the man a chance. You got to give the people a chance. Why did they have to jump up straight away and overthrow the guy? Why couldn't they wait 3 years?
There's
a conspiracy right there.
Why were people on the streets then? Why were thousands taking to the streets
again? Yeah, but it's not
again?
fair, Julian. This is not how democracy works. Okay, say
then give Bashar al-Assad a chance. What? Obviously, I don't agree with that. But that's your logic.
No. But I want to finish.
Oh, he's won the election. On that note, he had elections coming up. If they waited, he might be gone by now.
I want to finish my point. My point is this: here in the UK, if we had an election, okay, and for example, the BNP won, let's say, right? The general public has to stay quiet until they fulfill their term. Yes. What if the next day the whole nation comes out and starts going crazy? Is that democracy? Is that what democracy is?
If the BNP win, I hope we do go crazy, and I hope we overthrow.
No, but what if that does happen? But is that But then you're going against your principles there. You are going against your principles.
Why?
If you're saying that you believe in democracy and every nation needs to be left alone to deal with their own problems, yes, right? Okay. Say for example, now tomorrow there was an election and the BNP won it. And then the nation goes up in uproar and starts going down Westminster and whatnot, making all kinds of noises. Would that be tolerated?
Baba, let me explain. It's the opposite. Because if the BNP won the election here, I hope we would overthrow them. I hope we'd be up in arms against them if they were implementing racial policies.
Okay, what if they won by
cancelling the late show?
But what if they got 70% of the votes now?
Look, the comparison you're making is false because the people of Syria were overthrowing their government, were demonstrating against their government. What I'm saying is it's the fact that outsiders that know nothing about the situation and weren't part of the democracy movement, were part of the Sharia movement or their particular interpretation of that Sharia. That's what destroyed that revolution.
I hear your point. Individuals saw it as an opportunity to go to a nation and implement Sharia law. Yes?
Yeah.
But and you're saying that that's not what the people want.
That's not what the revolution in Syria was about.
No.
I don't think it was, and I think that's been used.
Like I said, everyone's got their own views.
No, but I think Syria is a modern.
That's what the people are crying for. That you mean they wanted an Islamic movement? You know?
Where do you see that? On CNN? On Al Jazeera? On BBC?
I don't watch no news. I don't watch any news.
Okay, then what makes you think the people of Syria, a modern Mediterranean Arab country, Muslim with Muslim and Christian, what makes you, and Kurds there as well, and Sunni and Shia and Druze and 19 different ethnic and religious minorities, what makes you think the people there want a Sharia law? What makes you think that Egypt, with the largest Muslim Christian population of any Arab country, wants a Sharia law? The Sharia is a law for those that want to follow it, that wish to follow it. It's not a law that you inflict on other people. There's no compulsion in religion, and that's the mistake that these people are making. They're inflicting a religion on people, and that's not That's not what Islam is about, from my understanding of it. Obviously, if you're a Salafist, jihadist nutcase, you've got a different view.
My idea of this Syria thing was Assad was going out and importing things instead of using the people from his own country. I thought the poor was getting poorer and the rich was getting richer. Is that
So
not
you've
the case?
hit the nail on the head. The revolution in its infancy.
Let's talk a little bit maybe about Pakistan now. I mean, imagine if a similar situation happens there, where you get uprising. I don't think there ever will be.
There won't be, because we've been very subservient. We've got a slave mentality, and it comes from our own people. Then the British made us into slaves. Well, not in the same sense as the Afro-Americans in America, but pretty much so. And then after, as soon as the British left, then we had our own people. This is why it always gets me when these people here say, "Oh, when are we going to have the independence celebrations?" Independence from what? We've got poverty, we've got everything that you can think of. The people are starved, it's just, basically life over there is appalling. And yet we are celebrating independence. Independence from what? All we've done is replace brown faces. We had white faces there, and we just replaced them with brown faces. That's all it is. We're still getting the same oppression. We still got the same problems, same issues. But now it's somebody who looks like us with a big, thick black mustache and everything, and we kind of think it's okay. No, it's not okay. When our children are not fed, they're not educated, we've got no work, there's no food on the table, there's no roof, it's not okay. And there's nothing to celebrate, in my opinion.
That's right. Well,
I would love
I mean, I don't know too much about Pakistani politics, because it seems to be a very complicated matter for a nation that's so young. It just seems so complex of what goes on over there.
Where did Pakistan get its independence from?
Well, I don't know, but
look at the difference between the two companies economically. That's all that needs to be said. Look at India striving. Now we're going from here to India to use their people in IT levels, sports centres, etc., etc., etc.
I mean, in India, I think with a population so massive, I think it'll be quite difficult to find someone who doesn't speak English.
Yeah, but
even at
they've still got poverty problems.
Oh yeah, definitely. Massive poverty.
A country is not going forward if you've got the majority, or at least even no matter what percentage of your people that are starving. That you're not really making strides to go forward. Now, when you think about China, on the flip side, right? They got their independence and everything. Not independence, but they became what they were at about around the same time. And look at China compared to us and even India.
Do you think that is because China's actually got a sort of control of their nation and their population?
They've
Yes.
got structure in place, and they went by that. We're not capable of having a structure.
Yeah.
It's like on a small scale, our center.
I think they have in China. Correct me if I'm wrong. They have an massive annual meeting, or to see how the nation is progressing, and I think they have that every year, and it's a very closed event. World media is not allowed in there. It's closed off. You don't want to find out. But from what they said, they go that the country, in all aspects, grew by 5%.
It's going forward. Downs.
In all aspects, I'm talking about, but I think it's because, like Sogi says, one of the things is because they got control over their population, where India doesn't have that. It's still a bit out of control.
Well, let's draw a comparison. I always like to bring it up. The partition of India. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh were all one huge country, and when the revolution started happening there, the British encouraged this idea of separatism for Muslims, separatism for Hindus. The Sikhs didn't get what they wanted, and you're left with this uneven, chopped up country where ethnic cleansing happened as a result. And now that there is a revolution brewing in Syria, Britain and America are influencing and encouraging yet again the sectarianism, so that when it does happen, you'll have people that say, well, we want the Sharia law and we want the law for Muslims, so they're going to have their tiny little enclave here, and the Kurdish people in the north will have their part, and the Druze and the Alawites and there'll be a state for the Christians, and there'll be a state for the Shia, and yet again another what could have been strong independent country going against the imperial powers' wishes will be reduced to another balkanized series of countries rather than one.
Don't you think
unit.
that there's a bit of a contradiction, where nations like to preach democracy, people like to preach democracy as well, but the people, they don't mind going to the ballot box, but they don't want to live with each other. So why is it that as individuals, everyone wants to be separate from each other? They think, oh, we want own, we want own, we want own. But then they say, oh, we want democracy as well. Why is that democracy is failing that then? Why is it that under democracy people just cannot live together, but everyone still wants to be separate? It doesn't make sense.
So I'm very against democracy. Let's take a vote. Who agrees with that one? No. I'm joking. Do you agree with democracy, Soggy? We're voting on it. If you're against it,
I agree with it. Yes.
look, it's Churchill said it may not be good, but it's the least bad. I don't think it's a magic formula. It's never been.
No, but is it a formula?
Claim it is.
But is it a formula that can be implemented everywhere? Because this idea of democracy is being pushed worldwide, everywhere. I don't believe it's for every country. I believe that people change from place to place. People's thinkings change. You cannot push the same thinking all over the world.
And some people are just not.
Yeah.
Some countries are just not ready for democracy.
Some people need one particular supreme leader, you could say, and that works for them.
I would, to an extent, I would agree. I wouldn't. Did you say you're not ready for democracy, or
I would say there's certain places, certain countries not ready for democracy.
if you? I mean, when you phrase it like that, you're suggesting that, well, one day they will be. They'll catch up with the rest of us, as if we're some kind of living in the future. I mean, do we really have a democracy? You can vote for one guy from Eton or another guy from Eton. It doesn't. We don't really have it.
Education, isn't it? When you have democracy and you have one person that can influence 1,000, well, then he's got that 1,000. So I think, until everybody's in the same state of mind and have that ability to be able to think for themselves, they're not ready for democracy. Not when somebody can turn around and tell them something and brainwash them, and they're just not ready.
Yeah, I mean, the democracy, just like religion or any school of thought or a way of running a country, must not be imposed on other people. You can't invade another country and say you must become democratic. Are we democratic? Women couldn't vote here 90 years ago. No one came and invaded us and told us what to do and took our oil. Not that we had any. Thanks, Soggy.
Just clarify that.
Thank you very much. Hope his wife's listening.
Wouldn't have a clue, would they?
Well, but there that's the point, isn't it?
This is what we've done.
It's not real. It's not real democracy.
This is why Asian men have it so good, because they just tell their women what to do.
Exactly.
Tick this box, and then that's it.
I thought they
Don't do the thinking.
Tell you what to
Just
do.
tick.
If they'd done the thing, we'd be in trouble. I think GB be in trouble. So enough from over here. Don't know how they got here. Sorry.
Enough women.
Yeah.
Oh right,
What do you call them there?
ladies,
Yeah.
girls, whatever you like to say.
Don't know how they get here.
But yeah, look, the democracy, Islam, Christianity, fascism. You shouldn't inflict it on anyone. People should be free to govern themselves according to the will of the people in that community, in that entity, whether we like it
In
or
a
not.
perfect world, Union, yes.
No,
In a perfect world.
it's not. But no, in a
You have the law of the land, don't you? If you don't have the law of the land, you go out and you go find your joys wherever you think it might be in the world. And then if you want whatever you want, you go seek it. don't you?
Why do we find that so difficult as people then? Many people, going a little bit off topic, they'll hate their job, they'll hate their daily life, they hate this, they hate that, but they don't want to make a change. Why is, to those individuals who probably hate certain systems, they might have the means to change the circumstances, but they don't do it. But they'd rather sit and complain about it.
Yeah, they like it really.
Deep down.
Yeah, deep down they like it.
Yeah.
I was with a mate once, and we walked past a homeless guy, and I gave him £1, and he's like, "Why'd you do that, man?" He likes being homeless. If he didn't like it, he would do something about it. I don't know how true that is, but We got.
If anybody wants to write to Brother Moazzam for him to keep his spirits up and for you to show support, his number is prisoner status. His prisoner number is A for Apple 8423DD. I repeat that. It's A for Apple 8423DD. That's Moazzam Beg's ID number if you want to write to him at HMP Belmarsh, which is Western Way, Thamesmead, London, SE28 0EB. I'm sure he'll welcome support, letters of support and well wishes out there, inshallah. So that's that. Sorry, carry on, me.
Now we were just talking about change, Soggy.
Yeah.
Change.
Yeah.
You know, change in, you know, the aspect of not liking. You know, we've been for the last, was it 2 hours coming up now? We've been talking about people not liking things, and you know,
change, bro, ain't easy in any form of life, and it's difficult to adapt to change. So I don't know. I mean, I don't like change.
If I can change and you can change,
oh yeah,
everybody can change.
Is that this for later?
Yeah. Who said that?
Ask me that later.
Hello, caller. Go ahead.
Hello. I heard one of your friends mention that their women listen to them and do as they say.
Oh yeah, that was Soggy.
Got a question
I don't know if he was
yeah.
serious though.
Soggy, we've got our first complaint. This is Ofcom. Are you calling to complain, caller?
No, basically, my name's Dave, and what if your woman one day turned around and told you to do yourself a favour?
You sound like a woman. Are you a woman? What's your name?
Yes, mate, I'm a transgender.
You sound. I don't want to be funny or nothing, but you sound
I
like
also
one.
want to know if it's against your religion to be a transgender.
My religion.
Yes.
We're debating all kinds tonight.
Well, my religion doesn't understand what a transgender is. You know, you're either born a male or a female. Well,
That's not always true, Soggy.
I understand that. I know. I've seen your woman. No,
Basically, in the religion of Jehovah, we allow our people to do this sort of activity.
really? What activity is that then? Please elaborate, because I'm very, very narrow-minded and very shallow on things like that. You know, it's black and white to me.
Don't be narrow-minded, brother. You know, sometimes you've got to open your mind to these things.
My mind is very narrow, brother. I mean, I'm trying to open it for 22 years, but it's a bit difficult.
Call it. I should say, if you're not a Muslim, I hope you won't think that this is the official line for Muslims. What Soggy said was tongue-in-cheek, and Muslims do respect their women, right? Barbara, would you like to regale us with a hadith on women? I think we need to put it out there if people are listening that don't know what we're about. What is the position of women in Islam?
50-50.
Under whose feet is the paradise?
No, we're talking over him.
So would you be shocked? Would you be shocked if one day she turned around and said, "Do yourself a favour and do one. I ain't doing this and that." They fucking cut me off.
That's where he's come down.
Caller, you're on air. He's gone. Okay.
I think
you confused a few people there, Soggy.
Yeah, I think they were taking everything we were saying a bit too literal. They don't understand our humour. Basically,
Yeah.
I think the caller was trying to say that we are oppressive to our women, and if your woman turned around and said, "Go and do one," what would you do?
Oh, Soggy.
Soggy
No,
has
that's not why.
plenty of women, and he has plenty of children. So yeah. Well, no, there's no need to be upset. You know, if anyone wants to know the status of women in Islam, they need to look at Islam. You know, and what Islam actually teaches. Don't always look at the individuals, because they're not always ambassadors.
Don't look at Soggy.
Yeah, they're not always ambassadors of the faith. You know, just as, you know, Christianity might preach something, but people are doing something else. You know, it happens in all aspects of life. So what individuals need to do, they need to go back to the religion, the pure teachings of the religion, and look at, you know, what they want to find, what answers they want to look for. So in this particular individual's case, he'd probably think Muslims are oppressive to their women, but that's not the case. You know, women have equal rights to men. And, you know, one fact that you may want to know, which is a bit of a general knowledge thing. You know, we like general knowledge.
Here we go.
Let me tell you something. The first university ever established in the world was established by a Muslim woman in Morocco. So this is something that, you know.
Never.
Yep.
Don't
Fact.
believe it. No. Don't
Fact.
believe it. No way.
Yeah.
In
fact.
1991.
Impossible.
No, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. But people that don't know, that will.
No, I think you know what it is, though, Julian. I think people they do know, but they want to remain ignorant to the truth. You know, they just want to believe and what they see, but they don't really want to find out. So whatever someone tells them, they'll just stick to that. You know. So if you turned around and said to me, you know, Moazzam Beg is, you know, a terrorist working for the British government, which you sort of told me today, and I believed you, then that's, you know,
Wow.
it's up to the individuals who go research.
Look at the facts.
Exactly. Don't forget Facebook, forget Twitter. Go on Google and Google it.
Just Google it.
Just Google it, mate.
Get both sides of the argument.
Exactly.
Or more,
Always get
there's
both
always
sides.
more than one.
Google's posted, it takes posts from people, whatever people have posted anyway. So Google's not 100% correct either, so I wouldn't Google it.
Wikipedia is the one you're looking for.
Well, that's self-made as well. I can do Wikipedia as well.
But the point we're
is
making is
research.
decide yourself,
Yes,
isn't
the
it?
point is
Don't be
research.
led.
Yeah, you take the pros and the cons and weigh up
Yeah.
the situation yourself, you know.
We appreciate that call.
Yeah,
Thanks
absolutely.
so
I
much.
hope you will call again.
Yeah, no, so
Yeah.
please call again.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, before we wrap up, you know, this we were supposed to have been highlighting Brother Moazzam Beg's case, but because of the delicate situation that we're in and limited of what we can say, and most of all lacking knowledge in that department, inshallah we'll have a brother that specialises in that field, someone from Cage themselves, either to Skype or phone or come in on a later show. Obviously, when this develops, I don't think it's going to go away.
I mean, even if we did have representatives of Cage in the studio today, and some of the things that we were discussing, Julian, you know, which goes way deep, you know, into certain things, you know, Cage is an organisation that helps people who are oppressed. It helps households under stress. You know, so certain, you
That's
know,
hugs.
yeah.
The reason to have Cage in here, I want to give a background about Moazzam Beg, the personality of the person that has been arrested. It's a background onto the brother, what his vision of Cage is, what his agenda is, you know, where he's going with Cage, why he's dedicated his life to Cage. This is what it was supposed to be about, highlighting Cage itself. So this is why I wanted, not for any other reason. We're very limited in what we know. We're only going by what the media tells us, etc., and whatever not. I mean, before we go, I mean, is a brother really naive when he got paid off only last week, only a few days before his arrest, he got paid off? So there's figures out there I don't want to say. I mean, the Telegraph said just over £1 million. The out-of-court settlement for his 3 years in Guantanamo, and then 2-3 days later he's arrested. Do you think that's got anything to do with it?
I've got a text on that subject. Why is it Moazzam was conveniently arrested a day before his report on British torture and rendition to Syria was meant to be released, and over a year since he last stepped foot in Syria? Could Moazzam Beg be part of the trend to silence whistleblowers like Julian Assange, etc.? I think that sums it up.
That's a very good text, yeah. Absolutely.
So you think that because he knows too much, basically?
Well, as I say, there's a lot of coincidences going on here. You keep cropping up in certain countries, and you get arrested the day before your report is So, are there any coincidences? Join the dots.
All we can do is highlight the issue. You know, we're just individuals. We just have an opinion. You know, we don't really know the facts.
Well, is it good to stay silent? Would you
No,
highlight
never stay silent. Never ever stay silent. Always speak the truth.
the truth?
Stand up for the truth.
and if you're silent, then
You'll be questioned for it. You'll be answerable for when your brother needed help. Where were you? You know, you stand up for the just in people's lives, and you know, like he stood up for a lot of people. So it's time people showed a bit of love and respect back to what he stands for. I mean, there's not like.
I mean, what we have to look at as individuals is that, you know, when you're an individual who really wants to go out their way to help other people, you know, you always think of those people less fortunate than yourself. You know, there's people out there in the world who are really suffering in inhumane ways, and you know, we've got it so easy. I mean, the least we can do is at least speak out for them.
You know, so
Don't be frightened.
this is what we're about. You know, the people's voice. You know, the Late Show. You know, this is what we're about. Team change, community projects, and anything else good to do with the community. You know, this is what we're about. You know, we're pretty much selfless individuals. We're not looking for applause. You know, we're not looking for hits or likes or anything of that nature. You know, we're not about that. So
What you see is what you get, basically.
Exactly.
The proof's in the pudding. You know, mostly we let the actions do the talking.
that's a little bit for your highlight reel.
Yeah, absolutely. Just say that again into the mic this time.
We let the actions do the talking for us, but as it's
Perfect.
a radio station, we've got to talk. So
Yeah, man.
this is what we're about, inshallah. So the next community project, Barbara, what's that about?
Well, inshallah, we're community projects in association with PCC. Let's do a little bit of shout outs now. Has regular monthly events. The next event will be a lecture by the, I believe it's the Imam of Abu Bakr Masjid. It's on March 16th at the PCC. And the title of this lecture would be Unity in the Community. It's
Or the lack of it.
or the lack of it. So it'll be a excellent lecture, and I'm sure we'll be taking a lot of good from it. So please make effort to come. Everyone's welcome. And also we've got a couple of other big events lined up, but we don't want to spill the beans yet in that regard. But community projects is something that's going to be active on a monthly basis. You know, we've got the Late Show.
It's for, what's it, doors open at what time? And is it for
6
brothers and sisters?
It's 6 p.m. Sunday, March the 16th.
Oh, it's on a Sunday, mashallah, okay.
Yeah.
So we'll have to attend that.
So inshallah, you know, everyone's welcome. You know, you can bring your kids or whatever. You know, it's a good.
It's always an inspiring, it's
and
inspiring
also it's a
lecture.
good opportunity for the community to get together as well. And there will be a food stall as well. So you know, more than welcome.
It's all free, so.
No, it's not free.
Is it not
Food
free?
Not free.
No, not food, not, but admission's free.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. It's free. So inshallah. So yeah, keep supporting. Is there anything else? No, that was it on my side. Also, anyone who's interested in doing any boxing fitness classes, PCC is a place to be, free of charge. Everyone's welcome.
Free food.
Not free food, free training.
Oh.
Training. The more you train, the more free
Yeah,
it is.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's Mondays 8:15 p.m. and Wednesdays 8:15 p.m. And everyone's welcome to attend that as well.
Julian, anything from your side?
Just
going on?
that I think we've addressed the issue tonight. My closing line would be: remember the bigger picture. As an individual, I wish the best for Moazzam Beg, and I wish that he will be released soon.
Inshallah. And to wrap it up with, brother the General Aji Sharif has his fight this weekend at Bethnal Green, his second professional fight. Inshallah, if you haven't got tickets to his fight, please get them. Sorry, I don't have the number for the contact for the tickets, but we wish the brother 1 second. Here we are. For tickets, if you want a ticket for the brother's second professional fight, it's at Bethnal, York Hall, Bethnal Green. The number for tickets is 07933189648. Let me repeat that. 07933189648. Let's support our brother in his second.
I think he's going to stop this guy.
I think he's going to knock him out.
I think so too.
I think two. I don't know how long the fight's going, but actually, if he goes into round 3, bro, I lose a lot of money. So sort it out, really. Sort it out.
Do a Trevor Burbick on him.
Yeah. Any quiz today? No
quiz today. No
quiz. Okay, inshallah.
So inshallah, we wish Angie all the best for this weekend and everybody else. keep supporting. We are the late team, the late show every Wednesday, inshallah. We have some blockbusters lined up to be confirmed, but Brother Yasser will do the posters and it'll be up via Twitter, Facebook, Chatbook, and every other book and every other social network media is out there, inshallah. So there you go. And we make dua for Brother Moazzam, for him to be steadfast, and inshallah his release from prison very soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The back streets of Junction, still wanted by the masses. If you can find them, maybe you can call the late team, the voices of Reading.